This delightful final movement, taken from one of Haydn's early keyboard sonatas, needs to bristle with enthusiasm. It can move along at quite a crisp, spirited tempo, but without sounding hurried or tense. Written in 3/8, there can be a dance-like quality to the performance. As is common in classical works, Haydn's phrases need to sound balanced and elegant, which calls for neat, nimble fingerwork. Articulation details are therefore vital to the success of the piece, as is a clear distinction between melody and accompaniment, another hallmark of the period. A clearer sense of Haydn's elegant style will come from listening to recordings of this sonata made on a modern piano, but you could seek out one or two on a period instrument also, if only to give a broader sense of context, or perhaps to open up valuable discussion about classical style with your pupil. Initially, you might want to tackle bars 11 to 19 and the corresponding bars in the second half. Each of these passages begins with an inverted mordant, then an upward arpeggio, a descending scale-like figure, leading to a characteristically witty broken chord sequence shared between the hands. I imagine that this last fragment could sound especially brilliant played on an 18th century keyboard with a much lighter action, such as a harpsichord or a fortepiano. Eventually, of course, each of these little fragments of music need to connect up seamlessly. A light attack, keeping the fingers mostly close to the keys, should serve you well, not just here, but throughout the piece. Haydn included no dynamics in his manuscript, as was a convention of the day, though an occasional editorial suggestion is included simply to set your pupil's imagination in motion. Have fun experimenting with possible echo effects, for example in bars 8 and 9, or in bars 79 to 82. The opening melody can sound bright and optimistic, even a little heroic if you like. Notice also the chugging left-hand chordal accompaniment here, typical of Haydn's writing. Elsewhere, Haydn uses a variety of other accompaniments, such as broken octaves at bar 30 and again at bar 86. These give a foretaste of Beethoven's dramatic tremolo accompaniment in sonatas such as the Pathétique. Variants on this left-hand figuration crop up in several places actually, and at bars 54 to 60 this adds to a gradual sense of build-up in the music's intensity. It wouldn't be beyond the realms of possibility to complement the effect with a crescendo here. A mostly rooted pulse is called for throughout to allow Haydn's characterful details to spring naturally from the fingers. There could be a temptation to scurry away in places such as this last example, incidentally, which needs to be guarded against so that the return to Haydn's opening theme at bar 61 happens at the original speed. perhaps worth noting here that in common with so many works of this period, evenness and control will often impact much more greatly than sheer speed. So with this in mind, feel free to take the Allegro Molto indication with a pinch of salt if necessary. You will inevitably come across recordings which zoom away at terrific speed, but gauge a speed that will feel comfortable, consistent and sustainable all the way through the piece. Apart from perhaps just a very occasional touch of pedal here and there, it really isn't needed, and in fact could easily blur the music's all-important leanness of texture. Trills needn't to be overly fast or manicured, unless of course you particularly enjoy opportunities to play these with brilliance. And in fact, in places such as bars 21 and 29, they could happily sound more like turns. As ever, don't allow these to outstay their welcome. Ornaments easily clutter up rhythms rather than embellish melodies. One of the more challenging areas of this movement takes place between bars 35 and 49, directly after the double bar. This is written in the relative minor key of E minor, and Haydn signposts this by means of some easily missed left-hand D sharps in bar 38. For the extended musical sequence that follows, we should ideally hear a clear sense of dialogue between the hands. Hand-separate practice is bound to be of help in securing note accuracy and dexterity here, as well as elsewhere, and this could conceivably be an area that you encourage your pupils to memorise so that they can look down at their hands for added accuracy and feeling of security. Overall, and perhaps above all else, the music really needs to have clarity, precision of detail, and a grasp of the music's upbeat personality. It should suit players with smaller hands, notwithstanding the left-hand accompanimental patterns that I mentioned earlier on, since a little extra rotary wrist movement can help to cover the notes if absolutely necessary, for example at bar 23. There are half a dozen unbroken octaves in the piece, which are there to add a little extra dramatic emphasis, for example at bar 19 or 20, though even these could be broken if absolutely necessary. For the final 12 bars, really enjoy bringing this sparkling movement to a confident, decisive close.